Ladies and German title doing this is Conoverk.
This is Rangroo, hello.
And folks, on Tuesday we brought you Division 1. Today we're actually in Division 2 of League play on Kositrista, which is probably one of the most fun maps to say, in my opinion. But Rang, who do we have?
Left-hand side in the blue, we have Babaryann playing the Finnish Raappana division, which may or may not be the entire reason we're casting this replay in particular, with Maverick income. Right-hand side in the red, we have Yamin playing Third Guard Mechanized Corps, also with a Maverick income.
So guys, as you know, the deal here is I'm not going to try to butcher the Finnish language any more than it already exists. So good luck in some of these infantry. Just please know that we're trying to at least get the first letter correct, and after that, it's anyone's guess. But
it's a free-for-all after that point.
Yeah, exactly. It's Finns all the way down. So yes, we have a soft spot in our hearts for the Finns. Why is that, Rang?
I just really like the complete hodgepodge aspect of their military in the Second War, how they managed to fight off two great superpowers in the war and survive, and also just seeing all the unit names is really funny.
Oh, absolutely. To me, it's one of those things. We actually see that quick barrage coming on in from the off maps. I say off map. Technically, it's a recon plane off map. But, yeah, I am actually right in the middle of listening to a podcast again about the Winter War. It's such a guilty pleasure to know about. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. But, we'll see if they can get a Winter War 2 on this map, so to speak. Because this is a pretty interesting map for the Finns. It's a lot of forest, which, historically is worked really well for them, and they do have a lot of infantry. So I feel like for Babaryann, his best bet is just trying to play heavy down south.
Yeah, that's true. And we'll see if this is another channeling of Mannerheim going on here. But for right now, a lot of their lighter vehicles, like this BAF C over here, kind of ridiculous that he's deciding to charge with something that has less armor than the tissue paper in my, wrapping paper room.
Yeah. Anti-tank rifles completely shredding him.
Ooh, we missed it, but there was a quick barrage over here for the BM-824. Now, I remember making a comment to you that this basically was a baby Katyusha, right?
Yeah, it's just discount Katyusha, really.
Looking at it now, I kind of feel like someone took a look at that and said, oh, yes, we'll make that into the Kalai BM-4.
With an actual gunyo and a bit of a heavier tank.
Exactly. But, Americans always thicker around the middle, so...
Yes.
Blenheim coming in at the northern side, dropping 500 kgs of welcoming presence, and, yep, Molotov will be proud. Those guys decide that it's better for them to go the other distance.
Yeah, we got a pretty, impressive push there from Yamin actually trying to push up north, which is something you don't see all too often, especially in the opener. He still has a decent position, also good use of the 50mm mortar here, an absolute deadly unit. And yeah, Babaryann's going to be investing quite heavily, because that's not a position you really want to lose.
No, not at all. It's extremely difficult to aggress. Yes, you do have these forests over here. It's kind of like a loose jumping off point, but there's still a hefty amount of open space. And I don't care what the Dixie chicks say. You can't go over this wide open spaces without loss.
Yeah, especially with the Finns. Of course, Raappana's biggest issue is the complete lack of really any good tanks or anti-tank weaponry. It's pretty rare. And for Yamin, his division is definitely a very good counter to the Finns, as all those amateurs are pretty much designed to just butcher up anything which moves, which isn't heavily armored.
True. Plus, you take into account that the Finns have a natural, dis-affinity for working on the land. I mean, had there been a water map, it wouldn't even have been a contest. So, the viewers out there might notice I've been in a bit of a dad joke kick for a while, so let's just move past as quickly as possible.
It just kicked.
I do what I can, But unfortunately, I think that laughter for me was a bit of a lag, because there's another one right there, and here comes a Hawk swooping on in, and I forgot that they get these things because they were just kind of ridiculous. But yeah, it is a madhouse over here. Everything is happening in every single direction. It's a 14-10 somehow. When we weren't looking, the Soviets picking up 2 flags.
Yeah, Yamin's just pushing extremely effective through the forest, definitely leading the charge. Yeah, we are seeing Babaryann invest in some flamethrower infantry to counterattack, but the problem with this forest is that once you allow your opponent to really make a good push through here, it takes so long to counterattack, because the more you push into the enemy lines, the more forest there is, the wider it gets, so to speak. And that's more like anti-partisan activity you have to do, just checking behind every bloody tree to see if there's any Soviets here.
True. True. I mean, this map is kind of like the Pringles of maps, where once you pop a defensive line, you just don't stop.
Yes. That's a very good way to put it. We're seeing a pretty decent rocket barrage here. He's going to be following in with a little half-track for us to try to pick off or capture any of his fighters. I guess it's kind of makes sense to use half-tracks as surrendering tools. As once you surrender the guys, you can just put them in as passengers and drive back.
Yes, exactly. You bring to mind a situation, some guy... Actually, you know what? It was Leo Majors.
Yeah, they captured like 300 dudes in that Dutch town.
I was actually thinking more of the fact that he went and captured an entire German half-track, made the Germans drive back to friendly lines, and got pissed off when no one shot him effectively from the British.
I didn't even know about that one. I just know about him capturing that town in the Netherlands, Judge.
Yeah, no, this was not. He captured a German half-track, started driving it back, made the Germans drive back, and at that point, he started going back to his own lines, and the British anti-tank crews kept missing him, so he got pissed off and started shouting at them after he got back about how poor their aim was.
I'm fairly certain he was, like, the main protagonist of, like, World War II. Just the shit he pulled off.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And then you have, like, that, Campbell going the other direction. Oh, geez, another Blenheim coming in. So, of course, the Brits getting their fingers in every single battle. Not the most effective usage of a payload in my mind, but hey, I can understand, especially with all of the ground fire they've been taking. Not easy to get a lot of bombs in there. And
yeah.
We missed one other important development here, and that's on the northern side, where things had looked rather grim for Babaryann. Dude's got control, and now he's at 13-11 in his favor.
Yeah, it's actually a very good counterattack here. Yamin's has been so invested down south, and he has a very good position here now. Especially just along that defensive line in the forest. He's completely neglected the north, and this is very, very good territory for the Finns to hold. If he can actually rush up a bunch of CQC dudes and spread around in that forest, he can cause absolute havoc.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, the Partisani, they're I want the Partisani a lot more than they deserve. It's such a soft spot for the idea of partisans, but they're no good.
They're alright. They got the they're not release level good with the Molotov, but they're still decent for what they are. But of course, more dedicated Finnish CQC troops can out Molotov them. They can share some drinks.
And maybe that's fair. I think for me, Molotovs and those single-use weapons are really good, but I think for me, I'm always looking at the overall kit for the squad. And 2 Papa Shahs and 10 Mosins.
Yeah. Yeah, after you pop the Molotovs, they're really just, to be blocking troops.
Yep.
And by blocking, I mean blocking the enemy from getting closer, not shooting your own dudes.
Yep. Yeah, they're kind of more like speed bumps, though.
Yeah.
And you can see right now, we actually have a couple of recon squads right behind the front lines, technically. Which is the best kind of, behind the lines to be. Just giving just enough room over here as those sissies start engaging them from long range. And actually, I think they're going to pick up even more flags. We could be threatening a -2 the other direction here.
Yeah, Babaryann's actually gaining some good momentum now down south as well, bringing up the might of the Finnish armored forces, which are T-26 tanks borrowed from the Soviets. But in this case, it's working because there's no real heavy anti-tank here from Yamin. He does have a few anti-tank guns or anti-tank rifles, which are actually scary to the T-26.
This is one of those like DJ Khaled moves where it's like, congratulations, you played yourself when the T-26s go to the Finns. And
those are our tanks from 1941 rent, huh?
Exactly. It's like, I thought we lost McCalkin goal. Those Japanese guys can hit anything. Like, it's crazy to just watch this occur.
Yeah.
Because please.
Imagine being a Finnish tanker. It's like, okay, here's your 1933 era T-26. We heard reports of a T-30-45 counterattack along his front. Go stop him.
It's a Das Vidania moment, if I've ever seen one. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of funny thing. Like, even going back to the whole Winter War thing we were talking about before, at the beginning of that fight, the Finns didn't have a single tank.
No, they only had
Yes.
15 or so Vickers 6-ton light tanks, which they brought off the British, which they didn't even have guns installed in them yet. It wasn't until like really towards the end of the war where they managed to bring a few online.
Well, yeah, I mean, just to give context, in the Toyota War, like 45 years later, I'm pretty sure there were more armored technicals like that. Oh my gosh, Chad, I want to say. I think Chad had a greater fighting force with their Toyota trucks than the Finns had at the beginning of the Winter War. Like it boggles the mind. Southern side, we actually are seeing this charge of the absolutely light brigade taking out these partisanis, and again, Molotovs, while scary, don't do much against even the thin skin that those guys have.
Yeah, and we're seeing pretty good use of heavy artillery from Babaryann, bringing in the 155mm to just start peppering that forest. So he is starting to slowly push back through here, and he still has a very good position in the far northern forest. If he can capture both of those flags in his spawn, it can be a hard task because it's so close to the enemy spawn point. Yeah, that's like a very good position for him to be in.
That's true, but the MTRAs are starting to show up.
Yeah, and that's the issue. He does have some latty anti-tank rifles, which are quite scary, but he really needs to get side shots.
Yes, indeed. I want to actually see some rotations. No, the T-26s, the BAF-Cs are like, okay, dude, we're going to get out of here very quickly.
Seeing more of the Hawks being brought in, really should be using one to engage Cobra.
Exactly. Natural predators, I would say.
Yeah.
But going after the TUF is actually probably a little better, the TU2.
Yeah. So I'll take a bit of cannon fire. Really? Kill it? There we go.
Whenever an airplane dies, I always look for a kamikaze run.
Yes.
I know how morbid it is, I get it, but just, come on. Gauntlet 152. Here's a bit interesting artillery barrage. Right in the center, he's going to aim for that MCHA. I'm calling it right now. Or he's not going to use it at all. Okay.
No.
Well, Babe Ruth called his shot there, but folks, I don't think this one's got the distance.
Same him. Or he might have used up all the charges. I haven't properly kept count, but that thing has suspiciously been alive for too long.
True. True, but you still want to get rid of it, if nothing else, because it's spotting for the artillery. Oh, there we go.
Waiting for the perfect time. As we're seeing Yamin commit a counter-attack here to regain his frontline position along his forest. Now some actual MCHs up under here. I mean, he can pretty much hold his position. It's going to be very difficult just to even deal with MCHs. To finish even heavier anti-tank weaponry is not really that heavy.
Well, of course not. It needs to be portable. So, you know.
Yeah.
It's light by necessity. Looking back at your Northern Flag thesis, I'm going to say it's possible, but highly unlikely.
Yeah, it's a long supply line route, which is kind of the issue.
Mm-hmm.
And he needs to get a lot of like anti-tank dudes, and he doesn't have Panzerschrecks. He does have Panzerfaustrever with the Akari, and you can spam the hell out of those guys. So it's really just about being able to lock down those roads and just spread all out in that forest.
Absolutely. Actually, I like the use of the 76-2s from the opposite side. The Soviets bring in 76-2s to just start barraging all those committed artillery positions. You can see right now, one by one, they actually are silencing those guns.
Yeah, very good counter battery. Yeah, it does have radio control fire on them, which is a very big deal in this case. And it seems like Yamin is starting to push a little bit in the center. It's probably his best angle of attack, as he needs to push areas where he can use his Shermans effectively. Because those Shermans are just such force multipliers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Bizarrely enough, by the way, 3 T-26s might prove to be the linchpin of this northern approach. We actually might see a seizure after all.
Oh no, there's one M2. He's got a good line of sight down the road.
Yes.
He does not have any mercy.
But he was there long enough, so now we actually have 7 more squads of various accoutrements and stuff like that being thrown into the fray. And even if both these T-26s die, blocking forces have been set up now. Northern side. Those sissies, they may not want to get their hands dirty, but they're able to still engage at a great, great distance. And the Hitler Juntas over here, yeah, the lag might get a bomb, so nope, bombs away. There go those sissies. Yep. Okay.
Very, very good hit, yeah. Such a powerful force there of the sniper rifle, and I believe the only 1 kilometer machine gun in game for some reason. I don't know why that machine gun gets such special treatment in regards to the ranges. But nonetheless, that 1 T-26 all alone now. We're seeing a pretty good counterattack here from Yamin. I don't know how well Babaryann's going to be able to hold onto this northern position right now.
Yeah, I don't know either, but I mean, we are going to continue to limp towards C. And looking at this, there's still a ton of 45 mils that can be brought on in. And I very much want to go and be dismissive of these things, but they still have a incredible fire rate for a light cannon over here, 12 rounds a minute though.
Yeah, and they can be quite effective.
Yeah, so maybe what he does, he ends up using them more for suppression, and then uses the Pak-38s for the knockout blow. That's possible.
Yeah, it's even then it's still going to be just difficult dealing with the Emchas. We are seeing a big counterattack here from Babaryann, spamming in a bunch of Yakaris to try and push on back. It's really just that one Emcha which is holding that front line now. He is tanking it, you could say.
Boo. But I agree. And by the way, who am I to say boo after some of the real stinkers I put out? But barrage coming on at 152s, so look for many, many shells there. And the Yakaris over here deciding that, one town isn't enough, so push a little bit further east.
Yeah, it's going to be continuing to push here. I mean, both sides investing heavily in artillery, which is definitely a good idea in a very infantry-heavy matchup, such as this. Oh, I do like the sissies up north, men's are getting behind the lines here. If he can keep them, and just try to chuck an anti-tank grenade or two, that's a good position to be in.
True. Well, with AT Satchel, and what else are you going to do with an AT Satchel?
Yeah.
And these Yakaris, they might get cleaned up by Superiors. Ooh, the guard squad don't know how close they came to death right there, I don't think.
Yeah. But those Yakaris, as you can see, absolutely, powerful CQC infantry.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of very good 20-point infantry in the game, but the Yakaris are probably one of my favorite, just because people really underestimate just how powerful that Shumoi is, as just due to how the mathematics work. Having that extra 50-meter range on the SMG means that at closer ranges, it's even more accurate compared to a standard SMG.
Yeah, folks, just as a bit, I think, of historical trivia, this is the gun that the Soviets could have had, but didn't, because they thought their conscripts were too stupid to use it.
They have such high regards of their military soldiers.
Well, in the meantime, too, we have another off-map coming on in the town, which, in my mind, I think was probably the place it should have gone in the first place. And the Vatsuvaki bringing up and killing the Emcha, so the linchpin of the defense in the center of this map is technically gone. And I say technically because there's still a hefty number of guards guarding the area, as well as the 37mm, which can obviously turn many guys into paste. And let's not, of course, forget the 3 musketeers as the Emchas sit around and realize at long last that maybe the front is going to the other direction, so they decide to go forwards here.
Yeah, that's a really scary amount of Emchas, yeah. If he just pushes them a little bit more northwest and just lock down that field, he can really just open up a very good front in this northern central position, and that can really throw up this far northern push which Babaryann is trying to commit to, because he can kind of destroy the supply lines here if he just pushes those Shermans a bit more north.
One thing I was just checking real quick to see is where that line of fire is from that 75mm. Yeah, I think he's just out of range. I think he's just out of range from that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not able to do much.
75
Oh my
mil
gosh!
is-
45 mil! Hero 45 mil, do this! Oh man, that's such a shame.
Come on!
He's not going to get it.
No.
He's aligning on the infantry instead of looking at the tank. Which I do not understand, but okay.
Nope. And he's gonna pay the iron price, because he forgot the main thing, Khan.
The postman only rings once?
No, Shermans have stabilizers.
Oh, okay. Meanwhile, the Kevin operating system, I can only assume that's what Kev OS means, kind of for some reason reconning by standing out in the open, so I think they had a bug in their system. But hey.
Not ideal.
Not ideal indeed. I'm sure in the meantime, he's back. He's actually into the artillery park, but theoretically, the 122 can kill him. And
Theoretically.
does.
Very lucky hit, yeah, considering all suppressing and just how inaccurate those heat rounds are. Very, very important kill. Every Sherman dead will be, 10 Finns saved pretty much at this rate.
True. Your courage to the north, like you just said, proving their mettle over here, channeling their ancestors, 40,000 years down the line as they fight off those guard squads, heavily outnumbered. They just own. It doesn't matter what they are. They just own.
Yeah, just assume my SMGs are ridiculous.
Also
Absolutely ridiculous.
Also worth mentioning, the sissies with their AT satchels are going on a bit of a walkabout, going down to the southern, the central reinforcement point. So I think they're afraid that people are going to kind of guess that they're there, which is understandable.
Yeah.
So.
I think the northern one's a bit more of a common spawn road, so he wants to hit an uncommon run, so it's less likely he can stay a bit longer before anyone notices.
True. I guess it is also worth mentioning that the Finns really shouldn't be surviving this long against a guy that's got way more armored vehicles. I want to say that Yamin's been playing this decently, but I think he's had some misplays, especially to this northern theater.
Yeah, I feel like now Babaryann pretty much has the north under control. Almost, you just need to get one more flag and then he can just play defense, which will work well for him. Yep. But the central position is still quite vulnerable for Babaryann. If Yamin can really utilize his Shermans, another Sherman center goes down.
Mm-hmm.
If he can utilize his Shermans effectively, there's really not much the Finns can do about it. It's honestly a great tank to use against the Finns. They're the perfect fire support vehicles.
They're cheap, they have the HE rounds, they have the double machine guns. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
They got
triple.
Good enough armor.
I always
They might
forget.
as well be Tiger tanks in this case.
Yeah, but without the mechanical issues.
Even better.
But here's the thing. I mean, he hasn't even taken that flag. He's given up, actually, I think, a couple of the northern flags. But he's got this one that's sitting on the 50-yard line that, honestly, once a squad or two of infantry goes down, especially Superiors over here, the 45 mil as he engages them, that's not an insignificant thing. There's just a couple of flags that really could fall either direction, and right now, falling into the arms of the Grey over here would not be bueno for Yamin.
Yeah, and Baba does have a good heavy artillery park. Really just one of everything. Very inconsistent, which is also pretty finished. And it's counter artillery with the BM. I don't know how effective that's going to be, because it's pretty small rockets.
Well, one could say if it's not a good barrage, the BM would be rather shitty.
Yes.
But, yes.
My kill track? Oh!
No, that dude...
I need to shut up. That was a good hit.
That dude, though, was flying back and forth. He's like, rocket coming in, okay, and reverse, and first gear, and reverse. He's just skating back and forth, man. That was like the 360 no-scope action.
Yeah, but he did get one artillery gun there. It's definitely made that entire barrage worth it. Just that one lone rocket.
True. Now I'm trying to see. The 152, I forget how many of those he gets in this deck. He's got 2. I think he's almost out of barrages. He's got another barrage coming to the northern side. And it's 13-11 over here in favor of Yamin because he's been giving up that town at this point.
Yeah, but Baba has finally been able to control, or he's going to lose control of that one forest once again. Yamin's just putting enough pressure up north even though he's not completely recapturing the forest line, he's at least holding the important flags, which is all that really matters. This is damage control from up north. He just needs to break through the center.
I didn't realize that hawks were kind of a flocking bird, but there's 4 of them up.
Yeah.
And I'm confused.
He just really wants to find something to shoot.
Yeah, this isn't like medieval times, but that's a falcon, because that's the point. But they don't have optics, so help me, sir. Why do we have all these hawks in the air?
Okay, I think I get this, because the Hawk is not that fast of an aircraft, so you can't just bring them out to intercept the bomber immediately. You kind of need them to be already on the field to have an actual chance to intercept. And I guess you could do strafing runs like this.
Fair. Second part of barrage, looking for that artillery park again, and I can't help but feel that this is going to be a consistent thing. That on cooldown, on reload, it's just going to be this constant barrage.
Yeah, Baba may want to think about start spreading out his artillery guns a bit more now. It's a bit more micro, but he can't really afford to keep having his main artillery park get completely shattered like this in every barrage.
Now, I'm not going to say the Finns are finished in this one, mostly because it'd be such a cheap and easy pun to do, and I'm pretty sure I've made it in the past, but...
And you technically made it now.
Technically, yes. And I would be ashamed, except that I've given up I've given up all sense of propriety a long time ago. Off map goes down to a well-placed artillery strike. But I'm starting to worry about them. There's a lot more shell impacts on the Finnish side than there are on the Russian side. All those hawks flying around looking for a target tells me it ain't looking good.
It's not. It's just the armor support here from Yamin is more than enough to just break through the central line. Babaryann's been throwing in squad after squad into that town. But we now see Yamin's pretty much broken on through. He's very close to the artillery park. And there's not a whole lot of scary units to hold us off.
Looking down to the southern side, we do see that there's been a couple of Yakari that more or less have been kind of peaceful. Not completely, of course, because no one's hands are clean in this particular situation, but more or less it's kind of being left alone, which is kind of nice.
Just going for a little afternoon stroll in the forest, picking some mushrooms.
Absolutely. Northern side as well, yep, I think the weight of numbers has finally kind of taken its toll. There is the potential maybe to get a cheeky Faust off. No, he's forced back into the trees from the Superi. In the 75 mils, yeah, there's not going to be enough of a caliber. I mean, it's hard to find guns of that caliber in the first place.
Yeah. And yeah, that Sherman is extremely heavily armored. A 45 mil, especially if not having APCR rounds compared to a Soviet comrades, is definitely hurting a bit in the anti-tank category.
True. Another desperate flight of our artillery strike comes on in. I'm not sure, maybe he realizes he doesn't have it anymore. I don't know. But there we go again. BM, another rocket barrage, looking towards this battery of KM M32s, which I always feel like is like a discount Maxim.
It's pretty much just a Maxim.
It's a Maxim.
It's literally just a Maxim.
Yeah. Oops. Another artillery barrage actually off map coming over here on the artillery park, so this probably should be the end of those brave crews.
Yeah, it's a very good target in there. Kills run.
Pins down the other
killed
one.
Too.
It's as good as dead. Because every moment it's not firing is another moment that the Finns get pushed back by sheer weight of numbers. The artillery was probably the greatest shield they had left.
Yeah, and now the artillery is kaput.
Absolutely, and it's a 15-9, and you know what? I kind of feel the writing's on the wall over here for the Finns.
Yeah, he's just...
Go ahead, you can say it.
He's finished.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, he's getting kind of filleted down the middle here. There's certainly a little bit of, like, chopping happening over here on the northern side. His artillery park just got poached in a nice big kind of flame. Actually kind of barbecued. And while we have the brave 155 getting back into action and causing some hassles, don't get me wrong, what can one gun do against such reckless hatred?
Not a whole lot, Khan. Not a whole lot.
Yep. Yep. And with that in mind, it feels like the Finns that are just going to go and kind of slowly peter out. I wonder if Babarynn's going to see this as being a hassle here. Well, he's a solid player. I guess my question is, I wonder when he feels that it's hopeless.
Yeah, let's just take a Sir ×2 at 30-20.
Sounds good.
There we go. Yeah, I feel like for this match in particular, just Yamin being so aggressive down south and completely shutting down that flank definitely helped him secure the game, because that really limited Babaryann's options. He can't really push center because Sherman's. The northern push surprisingly went really well for him, but because he could only really push the north, Yamin could concentrate his forces there and beat him up. If it was a northern push, as well as also fighting in the forest down south, and just kind of infantry spamming with Zakaris and all of that crap, I feel like it would have been better for Babaryann. He really needed to secure 2 of the 3 major flanks of that map, and he could only ever do 1.
The curious thing about this is that one-on-one, all the Finnish infantry, just with maybe the exception of these Rangas down here, are better than their counterparts, I would argue.
Yeah, the Zakaris are just bloody on point in general, and you get a lot of them. You get a whole lot of them.
And they're cheap-ish.
Yeah, no, they're cheap. They're very well priced for 20 points. 20-point Panzerfaust, you're gonna need it.
But even then, Emtra's continuing to go down here, so it might still be a red victory. There still might be a lot of Soviets flags waving here real soon. But it feels like every single step is being contested. This is the bleeding white that we were kind of expecting over here on Tuesday. If you don't know what I'm talking about there, check that out. But yeah, I feel like the Soviets here are being forced to kind of use typically Soviet kind of tactics. Waves backed up by lots and lots and lots of artillery.
Yep, and it's working out. He's taking some pretty heavy casualties, but he's holding the main points, and as you can see, the center part of the map is just extremely dense in flags.
It's not as funny as watching a 20 mil firing an entire magazine into an Emtra Komroti, and the Emtra Komroti being like, yeah, my bell got rung, but you're dead.
Yeah. Sherman does not care, Sherman does not forgive, and it certainly doesn't forget.
Yeah, they're kind of like the elephants of tanks, aren't they?
Yeah, well, no, I think the elephant is the elephant of tanks.
Yeah, but there's not a whole lot of tusks on it, so I think I'm going for the whole, like, ah, yes, he's got many, many machine guns, tusks. But yeah, you're probably right. The elephant is the elephant. Ironically, I forgot about it, which makes me not an elephant. But it is an 18-6 here, folks, and I think that ×2 was a good call there, sir, because we are going to see as Renga's getting picked up one by one, and just kind of rolling on forwards, and while there might be a pound of flesh still be extracted, there's an awful lot of meat still going towards them.
Yeah. Yeah, this is... Babaryann is trying to fight to the bloody end here.
Dude, just give up Karelia. It's okay. Theoretically, the Soviets will give it back after the World War II ends.
Yeah.
But I should mention over here, you're right, the Finns are such like I don't want to say cute, because that's a very dismissive and kind of limiting word here. But the Finns are such a fun division to cast, just because they're so scrappy. Like, you need to be constantly attacking. And you got to be a little bit sneaky about things, too.
Yeah, you really got to make the most out of your infantry anti-tank weapons, because they're really your most efficient way of knocking out, especially some of the more heavily armored tanks.
Yep, but as you see Su-85s backing up those Shermans moving on in, yeah, it's an effing ambush, dude. There's nothing that's going to happen here. Superior's going to pick up on this Pak-38, who might kill the Su-85. We'll see. But yes, he runs out of time, and that last shell that could have killed doesn't do anything.
Yeah. And then looking at the KD here, actually, yeah, 700 difference, which definitely feels about right.
But the thing is, too, is we're looking at just raw numbers. The raw numbers of death, yeah, the Finns, if this was a real division, these guys aren't, they're combat ineffective.
Yeah, this is everything in especially in that division, is so cheap.
Yep. Yep, and that's the thing. Like, one MCHO over here. Excuse me. 3 anti-tank guns, 2 machine guns, 2 squads of infantry. Superiors, 3 squads of infantry, 1 machine gun. Guard squad, 1,
Whoa.
2 machine guns, a partridge in a pear tree, an anti-tank position, some snipers. There's some standouts. Not many, but there are some standouts.
Truly a guard.
Truly a guard indeed.
Yeah. And then losses, Yakari doing decent. Nothing else really stands out. The Finns truly were spreading out the death and destruction among themselves.
And that's kind of the fun thing about them too, is that these guys they're scrappy in the first place, and they're also, by necessity, you have to be very united in the way you kind of deploy everything.
Yeah. They also ironically work pretty well with Maverick style incomes, because even if you get into C phase, it's not too bad. All you're doing is buying 20 points infantry, like 75% of the time.
Exactly. Ay. But tell me, sir, what else we got going on? Anything else kind of coming here? Any other words of inspiration or thought process about this?
I do actually have a final thought, and that is, you, people at home, the viewers, in this upcoming Nemesis vote, you are going to vote for Battle of Tehran, the Finnish one. We're going to get another Finnish division in this game, whether you like it or not. That's all I have to say.
You know, I actually wholeheartedly agree with that. It is your duty. It is your duty to do it. So please go out there, vote. Let's get another Finnish division. Forget Dunkirk. We already were celebrated enough. Let's celebrate a country over here that doesn't get a whole lot of press. Let's do it, please.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Folks, until next time, I'm Conalwork.
I'm Rangru. Take it easy.